my VODs, my VOD listings. Uh, just drawing and getting spooked. Just drawing and getting. What's art alive? All right. Okay. Well, I guess now we can officially start this. Hello. Hi. It's me, Rosie. Your favorite? Nothing. I got nothing. Um. Let's see. So today, took a nap. I woke up and I was like, "What am I gonna do today?" I did say I wanted to stream during the week, and so I decided to just stream some fucking art. Let's see. So today I'm going to be drawing a little comic for the silly little VTuber I know named Sappy Sakana. Sappy Sakana. I wanted to draw, and I drew like a little comic earlier in the week, a few days ago. It was um it was for another VTuber I like to follow along with named Vanille. She uh she's a silly little kid. She's a gremlin kind of VTuber. Very fun to listen to. Very chaotic. Very gremlin energy. Good time. Um. So I drew that, and I drew a little comic for her while I was watching a scary movie. I think I was watching like Megan. Was I watching Megan? No, I was watching a Nightmare on Elm Street. I was watching a Nightmare on Elm Street because I'm still on the fucking like I said, I'm still on the grind for horror movies. I'm still I'm still trying to like watch more and more horror movies. Especially right now, I'm trying to go through watching the classics. Um Monsters versus Aliens. Yeah, there you go. So I I wanted to draw for sure, and I wanted to watch and I wanted to get spooked. So what I decided was, why not knock out three birds with one stone and just do this tonight? It's already like 8:40, so I probably won't be here for very long. Maybe like 2 hours. Let's say 2 hours is my time limit. I doubt this will take me 2 hours, but I am pretty fucking bad at time management. If you couldn't tell, look at that. You can see that. Wow. Okay. Um, we're just drawing today. But I'm not gonna be able to watch a movie on stream because that's copyrighted stuff, right? I don't know, something about being illegal or something like that. So I don't know if this plan of mine is going to get me like a copyright strike. Probably will. Probably will. But I'm gonna take that hit because I just want to chill and watch draw and listen to the spooky stuff. So this is going to be the scary stories to tell in the dark audiobook. That's probably already like a bad thing. Hold on, give me a sec. Can I stream audio? Because I know there's like a lot of Uh, this is definitely against copyright law. Of course it is. Mm, well, if the VOD goes down, the VOD goes down. That's fine. I'm not too crazy about keeping up a. I mean, if this gets taken down because of copyright law, then it is what it is. Oh, you know what? In the meantime, while I'm like setting this stuff up and just talking in general, let's put on some stupid copyright-free music. Let's find something. Let's throw this on there. Anyway, so I've oh my god, it's loud. Holy shit. I've been kind of like in a drawing mood lately. I've been look at cat. Thinking about like drawing things more often lately. The big problem is always like actually sitting down and being like, okay, today I will not hop on League of Legends and play with friends. Today I will sit down and practice drawing. Because you're never done learning how to draw. You're never done practicing. Every time an artist puts pen to paper, you know, metaphorically, they are still practicing an ever evolving craft. That sounds kind of pretentious, but okay, all right. So I'm just getting all the stuff ready. I have a little storyboard here about what I'm gonna do. And so I thought the plan for today, you know, I wanted to be chill, I wanted to have fun, I wanted to like just listen to oh that's heavy. I wanted to listen to wait a minute, hold on, what is this at? Oh, that's a big canvas. Let's go up here. Let's work like up here. So I wanted to listen to scary stories, like I said. If the VOD goes down, the VOD goes down. I know a Twitch channel, a YouTube channel can only take so many copyright strikes before it's like destroyed and deleted. And if that happens, you know, well, sayonara. It's not like it's weird to me though. Like, I mean, why can you stream yourself playing a video game? Why can't you stream yourself reacting to videos, you know? Why can't you do stuff like that? But like heaven forbid that like background music is like no. Do not do this. This is illegal. It's Jover for you. Like I don't know. I feel like that's kind of weird, isn't it? Like obviously if someone is you know what, why don't I just do this? Like the easier way of doing this, I think. Like if someone is like not claiming it for themselves, like it's not like some people are going on fucking YouTube. Well, I mean there are people that are doing that, but the majority of people aren't going on YouTube or Twitch playing copyrighted music and saying, I did this. This is my creation. You know, people aren't doing that. At least I hope not. I mean, there are the bad people that are like straight up stealing content from others and passing it off as their own. But we're not here talking about that. We're here to talk about, like, I just want to listen to things while I'm just chilling. You know what I mean? Is that too much to ask? Maybe. I don't know. Don't worry, I'm stalling. I'm just stalling. Let's get... Oh, hello, Blitzy! What is that? What is that emote? I can't tell what it is. It's so tiny. Hello. A baguette? Okay. Oh man, it's hot in here. Hold on. Let me switch it to something a little more comfortable. A baguette. I hope you've been having a good day. I hope it's been a good Tuesday, a good start of the week for you, Blitzy. Hopefully. And even if you have not been having a good Tuesday, maybe Wednesday will be better for you. Let me get this. Let me throw it in here. That's the plan. That's the idea for today. Alright, so I'm just gonna draw over this while we listen to some spooky stories. Some spooky audiobook. I swear. So this audiobook, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. When I was a little kid, I was in elementary school, and I don't know, it was like October, and my teacher had like a fucking hangover or something, or maybe she was just shooting crack in the back. I don't know, but she put this on for everybody to listen to, and oh my god, it was so fucking scary. Like, you don't even know. I was scared out of my mind. I'm gonna skip over like the first couple of stories because I think if people have read or even pick up the book Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, they'll read a few. Maybe not that big. Maybe like this big. They'll read a few, right? And then they'll move on. Either they'll read the whole thing because it's just that good and they should, or they'll read the first few stories and then just be done with it and forget to go back to read the rest of it. I feel like that's like what usually happens. At least what happens with me. So I'm going to skip the first couple of stories, and I'm going to start with the first one that I really, really personally like. It's called... Well, he'll tell you. Let me read this out just so that, you know, Twitch and YouTube are clear about this. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was written by Alvin Schwartz. It was illustrated by Stephen Gamel. And the audiobook is narrated by George S. R. Irving. I don't own any of the rights to any of this material. But I'm going to play it in the background because I think it's a really good series of folklore books. Wish me luck. Anyway, I'm just going to like let it play while I draw. You might hear it through my mic, so I'm just going to mute myself while the story plays. Let's enjoy this first one together.
Room for one more. A man named Joseph Blackwell came to Philadelphia on a business trip.
Also, do let me know if like you can't hear the audio very well. Like, I'll turn it up, I'll turn it down. Just let me know. Appreciate any feedback with in terms to volume, because I can never fucking tell if something is too loud or too low.
He stayed with friends in the big house they owned outside the city. That night they had a good time visiting, but when Blackwell went to bed, he tossed and turned and couldn't sleep. Sometime during the night, he heard a car turn into the driveway. He went to the window to see who was arriving at such a late hour. In the moonlight, he saw a long black hearse filled with people. The driver of the hearse looked up at him. When Blackwell saw his queer, hideous face, he shuddered. The driver called to him, "There is room for one more." Then he waited a minute or two, and then he drove off. In the morning, Blackwell told his friends what had happened. "You were dreaming," they said. "I must have been," he said, "but it didn't seem like a dream." After breakfast, he went into Philadelphia. He spent the day high above the city in one of the new office buildings there. Late in the afternoon, he was waiting for an elevator to take him back down to the street. But when it arrived, it was very crowded. One of the passengers looked out and called to him. "There is room for one more," he said. It was the driver of the hearse. "No thanks," said Blackwell. "I'll get the next one." The doors closed and the elevator started down. There was shrieking and screaming, then the sound of a crash. The elevator had fallen to the bottom of the shaft. Everyone aboard was killed.
Very short, very short. A lot of these stories are very short like that. But I mean, that's kind of the appeal. They're just little folklore stories. That one, when I read it, keep in mind, like I read these. I didn't listen to them originally. When I first read that one, I was like so spooked. I was like, "Ooh." I don't know if like the audiobook does. Well, no. I would be emboldened to say that I don't think audiobooks are the best way to enjoy material because audiobooks, put a voice to the material that you're listening to, and sometimes that's like against the point. I think things like this are like better off being read on your own to really enjoy the atmosphere that your own imagination can create. Tired, been editing all day. Oh no. Well, yeah. Go ahead and lurk. Enjoy chilling out. We're just here to unwind a little bit. It's been a long day for everybody. Hopefully tomorrow is an easier day, but I hope you got a lot done with your editing. What the hell am I looking at here? What's this? Oh, that's just a really big Dekamura. That's okay. That's good enough. Uh, but yeah, no. A lot of stories, at least in my opinion, like if you have like a good imagination to put things into like a weird kind of setting, a weird kind of voice to them, much better than actually listening to them. But on to the next one.
The Dead Man's Brains. This scary story is a scary game that people play at Halloween, but it can be played whenever the spirit moves you. The players sit in a circle in a darkened room and listen to a storyteller describe the rotting remains of a corpse. Each part is passed around for them to feel. In one version, a player is out if he or she screams or gasps with fright. In another version, everybody stays to the end no matter how scared they get. Here's the story. Once in this town, there lived a man named Brown. It was years ago on this night that he was murdered out of spite. We have here his remains. First, let's feel his brains, which is a wet, squishy tomato. Now here are his eyes, still frozen with surprise. 2 peeled grapes. This is his nose, a chicken bone. Here is his ear, a dried apricot. And here is his hand, rotting flesh and bone, a cloth or rubber glove filled with mud or ice. but his hair still grows. A handful of corn silk, or wet fur or yarn, and his heart still beats now and then. A piece of raw liver, and his blood still flows. Dip your fingers in it, it's nice and warm. A bowl of ketchup thinned with warm water. That's all there is, except for these worms. They are the ones that ate the rest of him. A handful of wet cooked spaghetti noodles. A new
That's so funny. Oh my god, this guy's having a blast, like voicing that. Like, oh my, the giggling, his giggling, like, oh my goodness, dude, this guy's funny. I really don't know like why. Well, I know why. I was a little kid, but like, man, back then, this guy was scary and never got through the whole thing. Our teacher like set it for the class, and then once class was over, time for recess, time to get out there and have fun. So I didn't hear the whole of it. This guy just giggling is just so funny to me. That's hilarious. I'm glad he had fun fucking doing this thing. All right, let's see. What's the next one? A new horse. A new horse. All right.
horse. Two farmhands shared a room. One slept at the back of the room, the other slept near the door. After a while, the one who slept near the door began to feel very tired early in the day. His friend asked what was wrong. An awful thing happens every night, he said. A witch turns me into a horse and rides me all over the countryside. Well, I'll sleep in your bed tonight, his friend said. We'll see what happens to me. About midnight, an old woman who lived nearby came into the room. She mumbled some strange words over the farmhand, and he found he couldn't move. Then she slipped a bridle on him, and he turned into a horse. Next thing he knew, she was riding him across the fields at breakneck speed, beating him to make him go even faster. Soon they came to a house where a party was going on. There was a lot of music and dancing. They were having a big time inside. She hitched him to a fence and went in. While she was gone, the farmhand rubbed against the fence until the bridle came off, and he turned back into a human being. Then he went into the house and found the witch. He spoke those strange words over her, and with the bridle he turned her into a horse. Then he rode her to a blacksmith and had her fitted with horseshoes. After that, he rode her to the farm where she lived. I have a pretty good filly here, he told her husband, but I need a stronger horse. Would you like to trade? The old man looked her over, and he said he would do it. So they picked out another horse, and the farmhand rode away. Her husband led his new horse to the barn. He took off the bridle and went to hang it up. But when he came back, the new horse was gone. Instead, there stood his wife with horseshoes nailed to her hands and feet.
Gasp. That one's kind of funny. That's cute. I listening to these as I'm drawing, like I'm a little shocked actually. It's like a little surprising just how fucking short they are. Like, oh my god. Like the whole book is like it's not necessarily like a long book. You could probably knock out the whole book in like less than an hour. But like, damn, these are short. Jesus. But I guess that's good. Like it's good to have stories like this that are just short little scary spooky things to say during a like fucking campfire. Because like if the story is too fucking long, then you just fucking forget what the hell the story was in the first place. So it's good that they're short. I'm not here to tell epic stories. I wanna
Wait till
wait till
Martin
Martin
comes.
comes.
An old man was out for a walk. When a storm came up, he looked for a place to take shelter. Soon he came to an old house. He ran up on the porch and knocked on the door, but nobody answered. By now, rain was pouring down. Thunder was booming and lightning was flashing. So he tried the door. When he found it was unlocked, he went inside. Except for a pile of wooden boxes, the house was empty. He broke up some of the boxes and made a fire with them. Then he sat down in front of the fire and dried himself. It was so warm and cozy that he fell asleep. When he woke up, a black cat was sitting near the fire. It stared at him for a while. Then it purred. That's a nice cat, he thought, and he dozed off again. When he opened his eyes, there was a second cat in the room. But this one was as big as a wolf. It looked at him very closely, and it asked, "Shall we do it now?" "No," said the other cat. "Let's wait till Martin comes." I must be dreaming, thought the old man. He closed his eyes again. Then he took another look. But now there was a third cat in the room, and this cat was as big as a tiger. It looked the old man over, and it asked, "Shall we do it now?" "No," said the others. "Let's wait till Martin comes." The old man jumped up, jumped out the window, and started running, and he yelled over his shoulder, "When Martin comes, you tell him I couldn't wait."
That one, I swear to God, like that one's so dumb. I when I was a little kid and read these stories like to myself, because of course I was a nerd reading books instead of like going out and having fun with people. That was one of those stories that like I just could never stop thinking about. I was always like, even today, to this day, I still like in the back of my mind think, wait till Martin comes. Like I just can't stop thinking about it. It just pops into my head sometimes. You ever get that? Like when you like when you're a little kid and you watch a show or you like listen to a song or something like that, and like you just end up like just absorbing that into your very soul for like all of eternity. And just every once in a while, you just think about it, and you're just like, man, when can I delete this memory? It'd be nice if I could just get this out of my fucking uh hard drive of a brain. How do I? No wait, it's freeform. There it is. But yeah, that one's been in my head for ages. That one lives rent free, as you would say, as the kids today would say. That one lives rent free in my head. Is this the same size? Uh, just about. Maybe like that. Yeah, it's the same size. Let's put that back there. There we go. You want some dynamic poses. That's one of the things I know like artists need to work on, myself included. But we need to work on the dynamic poses like that because it's more interesting to see something like that, like with an action, like that, as opposed to just being like easy and just being like that. This one is like just more interesting. as a concept. Anyway, I gotta remember to put this like. Oops, no. This needs to be this. This is what 30. I always forget sizes. Okay, next one.
What do you come for? There was an old woman who lived all by herself, and she was very lonely. Sitting in the kitchen one night, she said, "Oh, I wish I had some company." No sooner had she spoken than down the chimney tumbled 2 feet, from which the flesh had rotted. The old woman's eyes bulged with terror. Then 2 legs dropped to the hearth and attached themselves to the feet. Then a body tumbled down. Then 2 arms and a man's head. As the old woman watched, the parts came together into a great gangling man. The man danced around and around the room. Faster and faster he went. Then he stopped, and he looked into her eyes. "What do you come for?" she asked in a small voice that shivered and shook. "What do I come for?" he said. "I come for you!" As you shout the last words, stamp your foot and jump at somebody nearby. Aaron Kelly's Bones. Aaron Kelly was dead. They bought him a coffin and had a funeral and buried him. But that night, he got out of his coffin and he came home. His family was sitting around the fire when he walked in. He sat down next to his widow and he said, "What's going on? You all act like somebody died. Who's dead?" His widow said, "You are." "I don't feel dead," he said. "I feel fine." "You don't look fine," his widow said. "You look dead. You'd better get back to the grave where you belong." "I'm not going back to the grave until I feel dead," he said. Since Aaron wouldn't go back, his widow couldn't collect his life insurance. Without that, she couldn't pay for the coffin, and the undertaker said he would take it back. Aaron didn't care. He just sat by the fire, rocking in a chair and warming his hands and feet. But his joints were dry, and his back was stiff, and every time he moved, he creaked and cracked. One night, the best fiddler in town came to court the widow. Since Aaron was dead, the fiddler wanted to marry her. The 2 of them sat on one side of the fire, and Aaron sat on the other, creaking and cracking. "How long do we have to put up with this dead corpse?" the widow asked. "Something must be done," the fiddler said. "This isn't very jolly," Aaron said. "Let's dance." The fiddler got out his fiddle and began to play. Aaron stretched himself, shook himself, got up, took a step or 2, and began to dance. With his old bones rattling, and his yellow teeth snapping, and his bald head wagging, and his arms flip-flopping, around and around he went, with his long legs clicking and his knee bones knocking. He skipped and pranced around the room. How that dead man danced! But pretty soon, a bone worked loose and fell to the floor. "Look at that," said the fiddler. "Play faster," said the widow. The fiddler played faster. Crickety-crack, down and back, the dead man went hopping, and his dry bones kept dropping. This way, that way, the pieces just kept popping. "Play, man, play," cried the widow. old bones rattling, yellow teeth snapping, bald head wagging, arms flip-flopping, long legs clicking, knee bones knocking, skipping, prancing, round the room, round and round and round the room, crickety-crack, down and back, bones hopping, bones dropping, pieces popping, round the room, round and round and round the room. The fiddler fiddled, and dead Aaron danced. Then Aaron fell apart, collapsed into a pile of bones, all except his bald head bone. That grinned at the fiddler, cracked its teeth, and kept dancing. "Look at that," groaned the fiddler. "Play louder," cried the widow. "Ho, ho, ho, ho," said the head bone. "Ain't we having fun?" The fiddler couldn't stand it. "Widow," he said, "I'm going home." And he never came back. The family gathered up Aaron's bones and put 'em back in the coffin. They mixed 'em up so he couldn't fit 'em together. After that, Aaron stayed in his grave. But his widow never did get married again. Aaron had seen to that.
That was funny. That was fun. Like, this might be the section actually. There's a whole section about this book that's dedicated to fucking like silly stories, funny stories, like spooky to start with, and it just ends up with like a joke. That one's yeah. All right, yeah. This one, wait till Martin comes. What are you coming for? Yeah, this whole section. It's weird that the audiobook doesn't split them up, but this whole section, these next stories are all like funny, silly little things, funny little jokes. Um, fuck though. All right, this is her face right here. Yeah, that's the eyes, and that's her mouth. There you go. They're good. They're good stories. They're fun stories. Just things to liven things up. I think this next one is like the last one of the joke stories, which is actually kind of funny.
The Viper.
Excuse me.
A widow lived alone on the top floor of an apartment house. One morning, her telephone rang. "Hello," she said. "This is the Viper," a man said. "I'm coming up." Somebody's fooling around, she thought, and hung up. A half hour later, the telephone rang again. It was the same man. "It's the Viper," he said. "I'll be up soon." The widow didn't know what to think, but she was getting frightened. Once more the telephone rang. Again, it was the Viper. "I'm coming up now," he said. She quickly called the police. They said they would be right over. When the doorbell rang, she sighed with relief. "They're here," she thought. But when she opened the door, there stood a little old man with a bucket and a cloth. "I'm the Viper," he said. "I wish to wash and wipe the windows."
That one's dumb. That one's just dumb. Maybe a little bit racist too. That one's just dumb though. All right. So, some of these are definitely fucking like urban legends, urban myths, right? Stories that like people have been telling for ages. People have made movies about them. People have like spread this around for years. But like this is one of the classics. And like, I mean, it's just that good. It's just a classic.
The Babysitter. It was 9 o'clock in the evening. Everybody was sitting on the couch in front of the TV. There were Richard, Brian, Jenny, and Doreen, the babysitter. The telephone rang. "Maybe it's your mother," said Doreen. She picked up the phone. Before she could say a word, a man laughed hysterically and hung up. "Who was it?" asked Richard. Some nut, said Doreen. What did I miss? At 9:30, the telephone rang again. Doreen answered it. It was the man who had called before. I'll be there soon, he said, and he laughed and hung up. Who was it, the children asked. Some crazy person, she said. About 10 o'clock, the telephone rang again. Jenny got to it first. Hello, she said. It was the same man. 1 more hour, he said. And he laughed and hung up. He said 1 more hour. What did he mean? Asked Jenny. Don't worry, said Doreen. It's somebody fooling around. I'm scared, said Jenny. About 10:30, the telephone rang once more. When Doreen picked it up, the man said, Pretty soon now. Why are you doing this? Doreen screamed, and he hung up. Was it that guy again? Asked Brian. Yes, said Doreen. I'm going to call the operator and complain. The operator told her to call back if it happened again, and she would try to trace the call. At 11 o'clock, the telephone rang again. Doreen answered it. Very soon now, the man said. And he hung up. Doreen called the operator. Almost at once, she called back. That person is calling from a telephone upstairs, she said. You'd better leave. I'll get the police. Just then, a door upstairs opened. A man they had never seen before started down the stairs toward them. As they ran from the house, he was smiling in a very strange way. A few minutes later, the police found him there and arrested him.
Sorry, excuse me. Oh man, classic, right? Classic. It's very simple idea, very simple premise. I feel like it's a little bit hard to do these days, just because I swallowed the wrong way. That's kind of a hard story to do these days because of what am I trying to say? So, with like, who the hell has a landline these days? You know what I mean? Ain't nobody have a landline anymore. We all have cell phones, so it's like that's kind of hard to like do these days. I think like the last like good movie based on this story is like in 2000, maybe 2000s, 2010s, somewhere around there. At that point, it was just like that's it. You can't really do that anymore. It's too much of a fucking disconnect from today's now and today with cell phones everywhere. But it's still a good story. It's still a fun story. Let me skip forward here. Let me see if I can't find one. Let's jump ahead. Let's jump around a little bit. I don't know what after the first book, I don't remember anything. I don't remember a fucking thing about the second book or the third book. I know a few stories from those books, but the first book is the one that like lives in my heart. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark 2 and 3, I have no fucking clue. So let's see what happens. Let's see which ones we run into.
The Man in the Middle. It was almost midnight. Sally Truitt had just gotten on the subway train at 50th Street after visiting her mother. Don't worry, Sally had told her. The subway is safe. There's always a policeman on duty. But that night she didn't see one. Except for her, the subway car was empty. At 42nd Street, 3 tough-looking men got on. 2 of them were holding up the third, who looked drunk. His head rolled from side to side, and his legs refused to work. When they got him seated between them, his head came to rest on one of his shoulders. Sally thought he was staring at her. She buried her head in a book and tried not to notice. At 28th Street, one of the men stood up. Take it easy, Jim, he said to the man in the middle. and he got off. At 23rd Street, Jim's other friend stood up. "You'll be fine," he said, and he got off. Now the only ones left in the car were Jim and Sally. Just then the train went around a sharp curve, and Jim pitched onto the floor at Sally's feet. When she looked down at him, she saw a trickle of blood on the side of his head, and just above it, a bullet hole. The Cat in a Shopping Bag. Mrs. Briggs was driving to the shopping mall to do some last-minute Christmas shopping when she accidentally ran over a cat. She could not bear to leave the corpse on the road for other cars to hit and squash, so she stopped, wrapped the cat in some tissue paper she had with her, and put it in an old shopping bag in the back seat. She would bury it in the backyard when she got home. At the mall, she parked her car and began walking to one of the stores. She had taken only a few steps when, out of the corner of her eye, she saw a woman reach into the open window of her car and take the shopping bag with the dead cat. Then the woman quickly got into a car nearby and drove away. Mrs. Briggs ran back to her car and followed the woman. She caught up with her at a diner down the road. She followed her inside and watched the woman slide into a booth and give a waitress her order. As the woman sat sipping her soda, she reached into Mrs. Briggs' shopping bag. Then she bent down and looked inside. A look of horror crossed her face. She screamed and fainted. The waitress called an ambulance. 2 attendants carried the woman away on a stretcher, but they left the shopping bag behind. Mrs. Briggs picked up the bag and ran after them. "This is hers," she called. "It's her Christmas present. She wouldn't want to lose it."
What a story! What a story! What a fucking bitch! Oh man, hello, infamous. Welcome. Hi. Do you ever lie in bed and think about bird sex? Sometimes, only because I have a friend that's very bird brained. No, no, she's very into birds. Like her whole motif is just birds. And sometimes I think of like bird things because we end up talking about a bird meme I posted or something like that. And then it's just like, man, birds are wild, man. And I contemplate how they reproduce so much. Why do they reproduce so much? We have enough pigeons in the world, man. Enough. Somebody tell those birds to start wearing condoms. We have enough pigeons to deal with. Anyway, welcome. Hi. I hope you're having a good Tuesday, infamous. Hope you're having a good start of your week. And if not, then, well, at least it's almost over, hopefully. Unless you live, like, in the past, somewhere behind me. Do you think that the bald eagle is a dom or a sub? Bald eagles are definitely subs. They're not. Bald eagles are not that impressive. Like, it's been recorded that, like, bald eagles are, like, not even, like, the best at what they do. And, like, I think it's, like, some kind of falcon that actually does what the eagle does, like, a lot better, a lot scarier. And just, like, fucking, what's the word I'm thinking of? Emasculates what the fucking bald eagle can do. It's kind of funny. Okay, like this. So, if you're just coming in, I'm just listening to some spooky stories. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. 1, 2, and 3. All 3 books are on a YouTube video. So that's what I'm listening to while I'm drawing, reminiscing about the good old days when these kinds of stories were like still new. Not new, but like these were just relatively unknown. Like, it's wild to me that there was a time where these stories were just unheard of. Like people have not heard about some of these stories in the past, and this book like did a good job of introducing kids to what fucking urban legends are. So I'm still in spooky mode. So I decided to enjoy some of these stories. You're welcome to join us. Get some popcorn, pull up a chair, get cozy. Just a chill stream today. No salt. We'll save that for Friday. I still have not decided what I want to fucking do for Friday. I'm still thinking about it. I don't know what video game I want to play right now. I don't want to go into Silent Hill 3. I want to like enjoy taking a break from horror for a minute. But Silent Hill 3 is definitely like the next game soonish. Married to a bald eagle for that many years and have had 46 children. Well, someone's got to keep that lineage going. Thank you for taking one for the team, buddy. Fuck, how did I have this? I had this like perfect earlier. I accidentally undid it. Fuck. Let me rotate this. Fuck. Sometimes being a traditional artist is fucking pain. Because you end up doing this shit where you just keep redoing the same fucking line over and over again. And like my little sister, who is an artist herself, I see her draw, and like she'll do that thing where like she'll draw a line right like that, and then use like some kind of fucking tool to like, oh my god, where is it? To like, she'll use the tool and be like, she'll move it down, and then the line will move down like that, and then she'll move like this part up, and then the line will be like that, and I'm just like, that's cheating. That's just cheating. If you're not redoing the same line 5 times over and over again just to get it right, is that really art? No. If Steve Jobs were still here, he'd agree with me. I guarantee it. Anyway. So yeah, scary stories, spooky stories. Here's the next one. I don't know what this one is.
The Bed by the Window. The 3 old men shared a room at the nursing home. Their room had only one window, but for them it was the only link to the real world. Ted Conklin, who had been there the longest, had the bed next to the window. When Ted died, the man in the next bed, George Best, took his place, and the third man, Richard Green, took George's bed. Despite his illness, George was a cheerful man who spent his days describing the sights he could see from his bed: pretty girls, a policeman on horseback, a traffic jam, a pizza parlor, a fire station, and other scenes of life outside. Richard loved to listen to George, but the more George talked about the life outside, the more Richard wanted to see it for himself. Yet he knew that only when George died would he have his chance. He wanted to look out that window so badly that one day he decided to kill George. He's going to die soon anyway, he told himself. What difference would it make? George had a bad heart. If he had an attack during the night and a nurse could not get to him right away, he had pills he could take. He kept them in a bottle on top of the cabinet between his bed and Richard's. All Richard had to do was knock the bottle to the floor where George could not reach it. A few nights later, George died, just as Richard had planned he would. And the next morning, Richard was moved to the bed by the window. Now he would see for himself all the things outside that George had described. After the nurses had left, Richard turned to the window and looked out. but all he could see was a blank brick wall.
What a fucking dick. Fucking horrible. Oh, I love stories like that. I love stories that just have that weird twist that just make it like, oh man, wow, you're a fucking idiot. Good job. You ruined it for yourself. If George Bush just broke into your house and just began talking about terrorism and negatively affected golfing and mermaid industry, how would you react? Well, I mean, are we talking about junior or senior? Because if we're talking about senior, I'd be like, damn, you're looking good for a fucking cadaver. If we're talking about junior, then it's like, well, listen, buddy, you might want to go talk to Joe Biden about this kind of stuff because he would know what you're talking about. Please get out of my fucking room. I'm literally streaming right now. I can't have any interruptions. You're ruining the experience. This happened to a very close friend of mine. It's very personal to him. Well, you know, once you get into politics with George Bush, of all people, you're kind of stuck there for a while. So good luck to your friend. My condolences that it had to happen to him. But someone has to keep George busy. He can't fuck things up anymore if he's talking to somebody else, you know. Tell your friend he's a hero. I need to remember that story though. That's a sad story. It's like, damn, you're a fucking idiot. I forgot what his name was, but whatever the OP's name was, like, damn, dude, fucked up. Killed a dude in cold blood for what? A brick house. She might let the whole thing hang out. I said she's a brick. All right, yeah, there we go. That's good. That's good. That's good. That gives a good sense of motion, right? It's wild that like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark had a movie, and I don't know. I don't know if I liked the movie that they did for this book series. I feel like they could have done better. I'm with the killer. Just kill someone that's already gonna die soon. I, for legal reasons that I'm sure my lawyer would appreciate, I am not allowed to agree or disagree with that. But like, hey man, he's not going anywhere soon. It's fine. Damn, really just said that. God damn. I don't know, but I always like stories like that where like the guy is like an idiot, fucked it up for himself, and it's like, well, enjoy the guilt, you know? Enjoy your comeuppance, dumbass. 100 feet of a nursing home. Any closer, and you're gonna have to talk to George Bush for an hour. What's the next one? Let's find out.
The Dead Man's Hand. The students at the school for nurses got along quite well with one another, except for Alice. The trouble with Alice was that she was perfect. At least, that is how it seemed to the other students. She was always friendly and always cheerful. Nothing ever upset her. Her school assignments were always on time and always perfect. She didn't even bite her fingernails. Many of the student nurses resented Alice. They would have liked to see her fail at something, become frightened or cry, or do something that showed she had weaknesses like they did. One night, several students tried to frighten Alice with a practical joke. They borrowed the hand of a corpse they had been studying in anatomy and tied it to the light cord in her closet. When she tried to turn on the light, she would find herself holding a dead man's hand. That would scare anybody, one of them said. If it doesn't scare her, nothing will. After tying the hand in place, they went to the movies. When they got back, Alice was asleep. But when they didn't see her the next morning, they decided to find out what had happened. There was no sign of Alice in her room, but they soon found her. She was sitting on the floor in her closet, staring at the dead man's hand and mumbling to herself. Alice didn't even look up. The joke had worked, but nobody was laughing.
Eh, that one, I think, uh, uh, the Arthur probably like decided to go with like a tamer version of it. I feel like that's the kind of story that could definitely have been like worse, you know. But whatever, it's still a good story. That's a good story. That's what I'm talking about. I like stories where like it's not a good ending. It's not a happy ending. It's damn. Now you have to live with these repercussions, you idiot. Ending. Aw, poor girl though. Poor girl. She was too good for her own good. Let's see. Next one.
A ghost in the mirror. This is a scary game that young people sometimes play, trying to conjure up a ghost in their bathroom mirror. Many don't really believe that a ghost is going to appear, but they try to raise one anyway, for the fun and the excitement. Some are willing to settle for any ghost, but others have a particular ghost in mind. One of these is a ghost named Mary Worth, who is also known as Mary Jane and Bloody Mary. She is the heroine of an old comic strip, but some say she actually was a witch who was hanged at the infamous witch trials in Salem, Massachusetts in 1692. Another of these ghosts is La Llorona.
I have to pause. You just walked the prank down. It's just a prank, bro. It's just a prank. Why are you taking it so serious? Why are you mentally devastated? It's just a prank, bro.
The weeping woman who wanders the streets of cities and towns from Texas to California and throughout Mexico, looking for her lost child. Still another is Mary Whales, a young woman who is supposed to have been killed in a car accident in Indianapolis, Indiana, about 1965. Her ghost is one of the vanishing hitchhikers. It is said that again and again she thumbs a ride home in a passing car, then vanishes before she gets there. Here is how ghost hunters try to raise a ghost. 1. They find a quiet bathroom, close the door, and turn off the lights. 2. While they stare at their face in the mirror, they repeat the ghost's name, usually 47 times or 100 times. If any ghost will do, they say, any ghost, in place of a name. If they do manage to raise one, its face will slowly replace their face in the mirror. Some say a ghost is likely to be angry at being disturbed. If it gets angry enough, they say, it will try to shatter the mirror and come right into the room. But a player can always turn on the lights and send the ghost back to where it came from. And when that happens, the game is over.
Very, very interesting. It's wild to me that like a story like that, like it's fun, like childhood shit, right? Like I mean, who hasn't like either actually done that, where they've gone into a bathroom to, call for Bloody Mary, or who hasn't like thought about doing it. I don't know about you. I've always been too much of a pussy. I'll admit it. I've always been too scared. I've always wondered about doing it, but I just never actually done it. I'm too much of a wimp. But like I've always wanted to, but I have a fear of the dark. I think like that's one of my actual fears. Um, at least when I was younger, I was hella scared of the dark. I was too spooked. Especially because where I used to live, one of the places I used to live, fuck. Okay, let me paint this out. Actually, here, let me show you. So, whatever. So, where I used to live, right, an apartment. This is no, not like that. It's more like all right. So this was the living room, right? This was the bedroom. This was the kitchen. This was the bathroom, and then this was like a hallway between, like that, right? So this was a schematic to my old house, to an apartment I used to live in as a kid. As a kid, right? As a kid. This was a sofa, right? This was a sofa. This was like the big TV, whatever. And so when I was a little kid, I used to there used to be a mirror here, a mirror here, right? And so at night, if I wanted to go to the bathroom from the bedroom, I'd have to cross through the hallway to get to the bathroom. And here I had the most fucking anxiety fucking ever. Like right here, I used to have a panic attack every fucking time. Because as a little kid, I knew the story of like Bloody Mary, and I was like ready to like, oh god, don't fucking, don't, don't look at the mirror, don't look at the mirror, don't look at the mirror, don't look at the mirror. And then sometimes I would look at the mirror, right? And I would just be like, that's just me. That's just me. I can't see because it's dark. All I can see is like a shadow person in the mirror. That's me. That's me. That's just me. Just keep going. Just keep going to the bathroom. Go, go, go. Run. It was so scary, dude. Oh my god. I was such a I still am a wimp. Like I only have to put on a brave face when I'm with friends, and friends are like scared of things, and I'm just like, don't worry about it. I got you. It's fine. We'll take care of it. Right? Stand behind me. Stand behind me, doctor. But like for realsies, like I'm. Oh my goodness, I get scared. I love getting scared though. Phasmophobia experience with the boys. Oh man, let's hit this one. The curse.
The Curse. My dad's friend, Charlie Potter, was a small, nervous man who was always looking around as if he was in some kind of danger. After he told me this story about his college fraternity, I understood why. The frat doesn't exist anymore, he said. It was banned years ago. We had just 9 members at that point, and we were taking in 2 more, Jack Lawton and Ernie Kramer. One night in January, just about this time of year, the 9 of us took them out into the country for their initiation. We took them to an old deserted house where 2 young men about our age had been murdered recently. Their murderer was still at large. We gave Jack a lighted candle and told him to go up to the 3rd floor. Stay there for an hour, we told him. Then come back down. Don't speak. Don't make any noise. If your candle goes out, carry on in the dark. From where we were standing, we could see the light from Jack's candle moving up the stairs to the 2nd floor, and then second to the third, but when he got to the third floor, his candle went out. We guessed that he had come to a drafty corner and the wind blew it out. But when the hour went by and he didn't come down, we weren't so sure. We waited another 15 minutes and got more and more nervous. So we sent Ernie Kramer up after him. When Ernie got to the third floor, his candle also went out. We waited 10 minutes, 20 minutes, but there was no sign of either of them. "Come on down," we called, but they didn't answer. Finally, we decided to go and get them. Armed with flashlights, we started up the stairs. It was as quiet and dark as a grave in that house. When we got to the second floor, we called out again, but there was no answer. When we got to the third floor, we walked into a great big open space like an attic. Jack and Ernie weren't there, but we saw footprints in the dust. These led to a room on the other side of the attic. That room was also empty, but there was fresh blood on the floor, and the window was wide open. It was about 25 feet to the ground, but there was no ladder or rope in sight that they could have used to get down. We searched the rest of the house and the land around the house and found nothing. We decided that they were playing a trick on us. We figured that in some way they had escaped through the window and were hiding in the woods. The blood on the floor was to throw us off the track. We guessed that they'd show up the next day with a lot of stories and a lot of laughs, but they didn't. The next day, we told the Dean of Men what had happened, and he reported it to the police. The police didn't find anything either, and after several weeks, the search ended. To this day, no one knows what happened to Jack Lawton and Ernie Kramer. There isn't much more to tell, he said. We weren't arrested, but the college disbanded the fraternity and suspended the 9 of us from school for a year. The strangest part came after we graduated. Someone must have placed a curse on us. Every year since then, around the time of that initiation, one of us has died or gone crazy. I'm the only one left, he said, and I'm in pretty good health. But there are times when I feel just a little peculiar.
All right, buddy. You had it, and then you killed it. What the hell was that last part, man? Why'd you have to do that, man? You had it. You had it. Oh, and then you got it all weird. Why would you do it like that, man? Oh well, that's fine. I feel like that one I've definitely have heard like recently. Actually, I listened to podcasts, and one of the podcasts is like Doctor Hollowed, Mr. Nightmare. Yeah, Mr. Nightmare, Reddit aliens. I have definitely have heard that story before on one of those podcasts. But it's a good story, you know? It's a good story to tell. Other people have definitely like had similar stories to share on like scary tell us your scariest story kind of threads. Oh man, come on, how am I gonna do this? How do I want to do this? Blob is like this, kind of like that, kind of like this. I just think it's kind of funny how like not just VTubers but like other characters like just end up having these weird like associations with weird ass characters. This person that I'm drawing, Stappy Sakana, very funny VTuber to listen to and watch. But like, she has this obsession with Bob from Monsters vs. Aliens. I mean, that's her jam, so good for her. But like, what the fuck, man? Why Bob? Who knows? It's just one of those things. It just is what it is. Anyways. What else? What else are we doing? Which one? That was the curse. Then let's jump around. Let's jump around. The one I want to definitely share is this one. This one is like the one everybody knows.
When it got hot in the valley, Thomas and Alfred drove their cows up to a cool green pasture in the mountains to graze. Usually they stayed there with the cows for 2 months. Then they brought them down to the valley again. The work was easy enough, but oh, it was boring. All day the 2 men tended their cows. At night they went back to the tiny hut where they lived. They ate supper and worked in the garden and went to sleep. It was always the same. Then Thomas had an idea that changed everything. "Let's make a doll the size of a man," he said. "It'd be fun to make, and we could put it in the garden to scare away the birds." "It should look like Harold," Alfred said. Harold was a farmer they both hated. They made the doll out of old sacks stuffed with straw. They gave it a pointy nose like Harold's and tiny eyes like his. Then they added dark hair and a twisted frown. Of course, they also gave it Harold's name. Each morning on their way to the pasture, they tied Harold to a pole in the garden to scare away the birds. Each night they brought him inside so that he wouldn't get ruined if it rained. When they were feeling playful, they would talk to him. One of them might say, "How are the vegetables growing today, Harold?" Then the other, making believe he was Harold, would answer in a crazy voice, "Very slowly." They would both laugh, but not Harold. Whenever something went wrong, they took it out on Harold. They would curse at him, even kick him or punch him. Sometimes one of them would take the food they were eating, which they both were sick of, and smear it on the doll's face. "How do you like that stew, Harold?" he would ask. "Well, you better eat it, or else." Then the 2 men would howl with laughter. One night, after Thomas had wiped Harold's face with food, Harold grunted. "Did you hear that?" Alfred asked. "It was Harold," Thomas said. "I was watching him when it happened. I can't believe it." "How could he grunt?" Alfred asked. "He's just a sack of straw. It's not possible." "Let's throw him in the fire," said Thomas, "and that'll be that." "Let's not do anything stupid," said Alfred. "We don't know what's going on. When we move the cows down, we'll leave him behind. For now, let's just keep an eye on him." So they left Harold sitting in a corner of the hut. They didn't talk to him or take him outside any more. Now and then the doll grunted, but that was all. After a few days, they decided there was nothing to be afraid of. Maybe a mouse or some insects had gotten inside Harold and were making those sounds. So Thomas and Alfred went back to their old ways. Each morning they put Harold out in the garden, and each night they brought him back into the hut. When they felt playful, they joked with him. When they felt mean, they treated him as badly as ever. Then one night, Alfred noticed something that frightened him. "Harold is growing," he said. "I was thinking the same thing," Thomas said. "Maybe it's just our imagination," Alfred replied. "We've been up here on this mountain too long." The next morning, while they were eating, Harold stood up and walked out of the hut. He climbed up on the roof and trotted back and forth like a horse on its hind legs. All day and all night long he trotted like that. In the morning, Harold climbed down and stood in a far corner of the pasture. The men had no idea what he would do next. They were afraid. They decided to take the cows down into the valley that same day. When they left, Harold was nowhere in sight. They felt as if they had escaped a great danger and began joking and singing. But when they had gone only a mile or two, they realized they had forgotten to bring the milking stools. Neither one wanted to go back for them, but the stools would cost a lot to replace. There really is nothing to be afraid of, they told one another. After all, what could a doll do? They drew straws to see which one would go back. It was Thomas. "I'll catch up with you," he said, and Alfred walked on toward the valley. When Alfred came to a rise in the path, he looked back for Thomas. He did not see him anywhere, but he did see Harold. The doll was on the roof of the hut again. As Alfred watched, Harold kneeled and stretched out a bloody skin to dry in the sun.
Oh my god. Man, how are these stories better than the FNAF movie? I mean, listen, I'm kind of curious. I've never been like one to watch. I never cared about Five Nights at Freddy's. Let's just say it like that. I've never cared about Five Nights at Freddy's. You know, I've never played the games. I've never cared about the lore. So, how bad was the movie? I'm curious. Please do let me know. Couldn't be that bad, could it? Was Matt Pat wrong about everything? Huh? How are these stories? I appreciate that you do like these stories though. Like these stories are just fun to tell. Like if you can remember a few and like work on like your delivery of them, they're really fun to tell friends. You know, when the mood arises, when you guys are watching horror movies or whatever, and you're just like, "Oh man, that reminds me of this one story," and then you tell the story, and then you spook them out, and they're just like, you're just like, "Yeah, dude, I don't know how I want to do this mouth. Holy shit, this mouth is killing me." Maybe like this. Yeah, like that. And then I wanna. How do I want to do the eye? The eye is a problem. Dude, let's go back and do it like this. Um, but yeah, no, please, by all means, share because you wouldn't be spoiling anything for me. I am curious to know what made the movie bad. Let's see, what was Harold? Harold was. There's a list here. Uh, let's go here.
Something was wrong. One morning, John Sullivan found himself walking along a street downtown. He could not explain what he was doing there, or how he got there, or where he had been earlier. He didn't even know what time it was. He saw a woman walking toward him and stopped her. "I'm afraid I forgot my watch," he said, and smiled. "Can you tell me the time?" When she saw him, she screamed and ran. Then John Sullivan noticed that other people were afraid of him. When they saw him coming, they flattened themselves against a building or ran across the street to stay out of his way. "There must be something wrong with me," John Sullivan thought. "I'd better go home." He hailed a taxi, but the driver took one look at him and sped away. John Sullivan did not understand what was going on, and it scared him. "Maybe somebody at home can come and get me," he thought. He found a telephone and called his wife, but a voice he did not recognize answered. "Is Mrs. Sullivan there?" he asked. "No, she is at a funeral," the voice said. Mr. Sullivan was killed yesterday in an accident downtown. The wreck. Fred and Jean went to the same high school, but they met for the first time at the Christmas dance. Fred had come by himself, and so had Jean. Soon, Fred decided that Jean was one of the nicest girls he had ever met. They danced together most of the evening. At 11 o'clock, Jean said, "I have to leave now. Can you give me a ride?" "Sure," he said. "I've got to go home, too." "I accidentally drove my car into a tree on my way over here," Jean said. "I guess I wasn't paying attention." Fred drove her to the head of Brady Road. It was in a neighborhood he didn't know very well. "Why don't you drop me off here?" Jean said. "The road up ahead is in really bad condition. I can walk from here." Fred stopped the car and held out some tinsel. "Have some," he said. "I got it at the dance." "Thank you," she said. "I'll put it in my hair." And she did. "Would you like to go out sometime to a movie or something?" Fred asked. "That would be fun," Jean said. After Fred drove off, he realized that he did not know Jean's last name or her telephone number. "I'll go back," he thought. "The road can't be that bad." He drove slowly down Brady Road through a thick woods, but there wasn't a sign of Jean. As he came around a curve, he saw the wreckage of a car ahead. It had crashed into a tree and had caught fire. Smoke was still rising from it. As Fred made his way to the car, he could see someone trapped inside, crushed against the steering column. It was Jean. In her hair was the Christmas tinsel he had given her.
Classic. What a classic story, that one. That one you hear all the time. Fucking vanishing hitchhiker kind of shit. A lot of these stories have like variations, or are there just like other stories that like are tweaked a little bit, but like the same like plot is there, you know? It's just a matter of like changing the details. The movie fucking sucked. Maybe because I'm not. I've never disliked the movie so quickly. On Halloween, try to scary, just fucking cringy. It's supposed to be scary, but they weren't. All the children were fucking annoying. Wait, is this? I actually don't know. Is this was this a movie that like you could stream, or was this a movie that you had to have gone and watched in theaters? Like either way, it's just it's kind of funny. I'm sorry, but like that's just funny. God, I don't. I just can't decide how I want to do this fucking bit here. Like I don't know how I want to do the eye. Well, the eye, yeah, that's fine. It's just the mouth. I don't know how I want to do. Maybe like this. Maybe like that. Maybe like that. Hard. It's hard to decide. The artist in me is just like cannot decide on this fucking part. In theaters, but it's already on streaming services. Best part of the movie. Oh, that's rough, buddy. Oh, that's rough. Well, I feel like I don't want to say like you were asking for it, but like I feel like Five Nights at Freddy's at this point in 2023 is the kind of thing where you're just like, there's no way it was gonna be good. There's no way you were gonna walk about from the movie theater thinking, well, that was a cinematic masterpiece. No, it's too memed on. It's too well known. There's no horror in it. It's kind of like the Slender Man. Five Nights at Freddy's reached the level of like just cringe and funniness that the Slender Man reached. Where like it was good, it was cool at first, and it was a fun ride getting there, right? But after so long and so many memes and jokes and funny things happening surrounding that series, it's just like you can't help but think, yeah, well, we're going in this watching a comedy, you know? At least that's how I feel like these kinds of things have to be like you can't like expect good. It's also like how I'm not very hopeful that I'm not much of a fan of Zelda myself. Like I've only played Breath of the Wild and we've only just finished it on stream like a little while ago, right? But I know that like people are looking forward to the movie that's in production right now. And I know the majority are just going to be like looking for reasons to dislike it. You know, people are not going to be happy no matter what happens with that movie. And I don't blame them. They've had chances to make a good movie for years, decades. And now they want to do it. Like now they're deciding, you know what? We finally have the tools to tell the story that no video game has ever been able to tell about Link. And it's like, y'all are crazy. We've had plenty of great storytelling. We don't need a movie. But, it makes money, so might as well put it out there. People are going to watch it. I think that's what I like. I think that's how I like this. Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. This is where I'm going to get hung up on the most. This is where I'm just not going to enjoy being here for a while. I am so sorry you have to deal with me being stuck on one part. Maybe like this. Maybe like that. Maybe like that. Maybe like that. Maybe like that. And then the eye can just be like, fuck, this part sucks, man. Anyway. Well, I hope you watched it with friends. If you were watching it on your own, then oof, my condolences. But I feel like the reason these stories are like just entertaining is just because there's that sense of that like this could have happened, you know? Not all of them, of course, but some of them are like very like this could have happened. I could maybe someone somewhere had like something close to it happen to them, and it's just like spooky. I think that also happened to my grandma's brothers, uncles, best friends, neighbors, third cousins, dentist. But I don't know. I did watch it with a friend. He fell asleep. Oh, well, well. At least you can like write that off of your fucking bucket list. Now you know the pit of like horribleness, and you can enjoy other things a little bit more. Let's go. Let's listen to another story. Let's listen to. I'm gonna hit this one.
Such things happen. When Bill Nelson's cow stopped giving milk, he called the veterinarian. There's nothing wrong with that cow, the vet said. She's just stubborn. That, or some witch got hold of her. Bill and the vet both laughed. That old hag, Addie Fitch. I guess she's the closest we've got to a witch around here, the vet said. But witches have gone out of style, haven't they? Bill had had a run-in with Addie Fitch the month before. He had hit her cat with his car and killed it. I'm really sorry, Addie Fitch, he told her. I'll get you a new cat, just as pretty, just as good." Her eyes filled with hate. "I raised that cat from a kitten," she hissed. "I loved her. You'll be sorry for this, Bill Nelson." Bill sent her a new cat and heard nothing more. Then his cow stopped giving milk. Next, his old truck broke down. After that, his wife fell and broke her arm. "We're having a lot of bad luck," he thought. Then he thought, maybe it is Addie Fitch getting even. And then, hey, you don't believe in witches. You're just upset. But Bill's grandpa believed in witches. He had once told Bill that there was only one sure way to stop a witch from causing trouble. "You find a black walnut tree," he said, "and you draw her picture on it. Then you mark an X where her heart is, and you drive a nail into the X. Every day you drive it in a little deeper. If she's causing the trouble," he said, "she'll feel pain. When she can't stand it any more, she'll come to you, or send somebody, and try to borrow something. If you give her what she wants, that breaks the power of the nail, and she'll go on tormenting you. But if you don't, she'll have to stop, or the pain will kill her." That's what his nice, gentle old grandpa believed. It's pure craziness, Bill thought. Of course, his grandpa didn't have much schooling. Bill had been to college. He knew better. Then Bill's dog, Joe, perfectly healthy dog, dropped dead, just like that. It made Bill angry. Despite all his schooling, he thought, maybe it is Addie Fitch after all. He got a red crayon from his son's room and a hammer and a nail and went into the woods. He found a black walnut tree and drew a picture of Addie Fitch on it. He made an X where her heart was, like his grandpa had said to do. With the hammer, he drove the nail a little way into the X. Then he went home. "I feel like a fool," he told his wife. "You should," she said. The next day, a boy named Timmy Logan came by. "Addie Fitch isn't feeling well," he said. "She wonders if she could borrow some sugar from you." Bill Nelson stared at Timmy in amazement. He took a deep breath. "Tell her I'm sorry, but I don't have any sugar right now," he said. When Timmy Logan left, Bill went back to the walnut tree and drove the nail in another inch. The next day the boy came back. "Addie Fitch is pretty sick," he said. "She's wondering if you've got any sugar yet." "Tell her I'm sorry," Bill Nelson said, "but I still don't have any." Bill went out into the woods and drove the nail in another inch. The following day the boy was back. "Addie Fitch is getting sicker," he said. "She really needs some sugar." "Tell her I still don't have any," Bill answered. Bill's wife was angry. "You've got to stop this," she said. "If this mumbo-jumbo works, it's like murder." "I'll stop when she does," he said. Toward dusk, he stood in the yard staring at the ridge where the old lady lived, wondering what was going on up there. Then, in the half-darkness, he saw Addie Fitch coming slowly down the hill toward him. With her pinched, bony face and her old black coat, she did look like a witch. As she got closer, Bill saw that she could barely walk. "Maybe I'm really hurting her," he thought. He ran to get his hammer to pull the nail out, but before he could leave, Addie Fitch was in the yard, her face twisted with rage. "First you killed my cat," she said. "Then you wouldn't give me a bit of sugar when I needed it." She swore at him and fell dead at his feet. "I'm not surprised that she dropped dead that way," the doctor said later. "She was very old, maybe 90. It was her heart, of course." "Some people thought she was a witch," Bill said. I've heard that, the doctor said. Somebody I know thought Addie Fitch had witched him, Bill went on. He drew a picture of her on a tree, then drove a nail into it to make her stop. That's an old superstition, the doctor said. But people like us don't believe in that sort of thing, do we? The Wolf Girl.
No, we're not. We're not talking about wolves right now. We're not talking about furries. After that experience, I think I'm gonna go on my villain arc. Show him what real animatronic horror is. Build your own Chuck E. Cheese. I did not want to spend too much time on this one today. I normally when I do these kinds of things, these little art projects, I tend to get them done like as soon as I can, and I feel like because of that, I don't give them enough time, and I don't feel like they qualify as art. So I don't call it art. I call them doodles, little doodles. I'm doodling. Oh, there she goes doodling again. But like, I don't know. I feel like I should devote a little more time into them. You know. God, I hope I did this right. Yeah, thank God. Okay. No, I don't like that mouth. That mouth is too much. The mouth is too much. The mouth is like too much for the situation. Um, well, if you do end up becoming the villain, just make sure that when they make the movie about you, they hire the right actor. You don't want someone like fucking Ryan Gosling playing you as the villain. I feel like we've had enough Ryan Gosling for a while. I don't even like Ryan Gosling, but damn, does the whole world just love him to bits. It's crazy. Ryan Gosling and like uh Robbie Margot. I'm not a fan of Robbie Margot either. People can like him for sure, but I'm just not a fan. I just don't think she's attractive. You know? But maybe I just have bad taste. That does tend to happen. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, I like that. I like that. That's better. I like that. I can't believe I've done only one panel this whole fucking time. I'm so fucking slow. Jesus Christ. Oops. Okay. Go here with a pen. Um, I'll probably wrap it up soon, honestly. Like I said, I was hoping to do like 2 hours max today. I wasn't thinking about staying here too long doing this. It's fun though, like, don't get me wrong, I'm enjoying my time here. It's always a good time just drawing and listening to things. Fuck. It's this one. Okay. There we go. Now I'm gonna get whoever voiced Eren from Attack on Titan. Yeah, give him the big break. Get him out of animes. Put him in the big pictures. What time is it? Oh, it hasn't even been 2 hours yet. Um, I've been at this for an hour and 45 minutes. I'll go for let's do like 20 more minutes. I don't know how far I'll get in 20 more minutes, but let's have a little more fun with a few more stories. What's this? Okay, I gotta get rid of that. Okay. Oh, right. Anyway, no wolf girls. No wolf girls. We're going with This one. Oh, I think this one is like this one gave me chills, I think.
Maybe you will remember. Mrs. Gibbs and her 16-year-old daughter, Rosemary, arrived in Paris on a hot morning in July. They'd been on a vacation and now were returning home, but Mrs. Gibbs did not feel well. So they decided to rest in Paris for a few days before going on. The city was crowded with tourists. Still, they found a place to stay at a good hotel. They had a lovely room overlooking a park. It had yellow walls, a blue carpet, and white furniture. As soon as they unpacked, Mrs. Gibbs went to bed. She looked so pale that Rosemary asked to have the hotel's doctor examine her. Rosemary did not speak French, but fortunately the doctor spoke English. He took one look at Mrs. Gibbs and said, "Your mother is too sick to travel. Tomorrow I will move her to a hospital, but she needs a certain medicine. If you go to my home for it, it will save time." The doctor said he did not have a telephone right now. Instead, he would give Rosemary a note for his wife. The hotel manager put Rosemary in a taxi and in French told the driver how to find the doctor's house. "It will take only a little while," he told her, "and the taxi will bring you back." But as the driver slowly drove up one street and down another, it seemed to take forever. At one point, Rosemary was sure they had gone down the same street twice. It took almost as long for the doctor's wife to answer the door, then get the medicine ready. As Rosemary sat on a bench in the empty waiting room, she kept thinking, "Why can't you hurry? Please hurry." Then she heard a telephone ring somewhere in the house. But the doctor had told her he didn't have a telephone right now. What was going on? They drove back as slowly as they had come, crawling up one street and down another. Rosemary sat in the back seat, filled with dread, her mother's medicine clutched in her hand. Why was everything taking so long? She was sure that the driver was going in the wrong direction. "Are you going to the right hotel?" she asked. He didn't answer. She asked again, but still he didn't reply. When he stopped for a traffic light, she threw open the door and ran from the cab. She stopped a woman on the street. The woman did not speak English, but she knew someone who did. Rosemary was right. They had been driving in the wrong direction. When she finally got back to the hotel, it was early evening. She went up to the desk clerk who had given them their room. "I'm Rosemary Gibbs," she said. "My mother and I are in room 505. May I please have the key?" The clerk looked at her closely. "You must be mistaken," he said. "There is another guest in that room. Are you sure you are in the right hotel?" He turned to help someone else. She waited until he was finished. "You gave us that room yourself when we arrived this morning," she said. "How could you forget?" He stared at her as if she had lost her mind. "You must be mistaken," he said. "I have never seen you before. Are you sure you are in the right hotel?" She asked to see the registration card they had filled out when they arrived. "It's June and Rosemary Gibbs," she said. The clerk looked in the file. "We have no card for you," he said. "You must be in the wrong hotel." "The hotel doctor will know me," Rosemary replied. "He examined my mother when we arrived. He sent me for medicine she needs. I want to see him." The doctor came downstairs. "Here's the medicine for my mother," Rosemary said, holding it out for him. "Your wife gave it to me." "I have never seen you before," he said. "You must be in the wrong hotel." She asked for the hotel manager who had put her in the taxi. Surely he would remember her. "You must be in the wrong hotel," he said. "Let me give you a room where you can rest. Then maybe you will remember where you and your mother are staying." "I want to see our room," Rosemary said, raising her voice. "It's room 505. But it was nothing like the room she remembered. It had a double bed, not twin beds. The furniture was black, not white. The carpet was green, not blue. There was someone else's clothing in the closet. The room she knew had vanished, and so had her mother. "This is not the room," she said. "Where's my mother? What have you done with her?" "You are in the wrong hotel," the manager said patiently, as if he were speaking to a young child. Rosemary asked to see the police. "My mother, our things, the room, they have all disappeared," she told them. "Are you sure you are in the right hotel?" they asked. She went to her embassy for help. "Are you sure it's the right hotel?" they asked. Rosemary thought she was losing her mind. "Why don't you rest here for a while?" they said. "Then maybe you'll remember."
Oh man, that one I feel like oops. There you go. That one I feel like is kind of spooky because like I said earlier, some of these are better if you just read them because they give you a sense of like dread if you read them on your own. I think so. And it's just like I don't know. It's just to me that one's kind of spooky. That one's kind of like, damn man, like ooh man, I would be fucking scared out of my fucking mind if that happened to me. Like I would be fucking just losing it. You know. I think that was a good story. That one's definitely a good story. It's one of the ones that like it's stuck with me. I've definitely every once in a while think about that story and just think like how fucking scary that would be. And like at the end of the books, in the indexes, the author Schwartz, is it Schwartz? Yeah, Alvin Schwartz. The author lists how like some of the places he's gotten his material from, and I think it's very interesting that one of the things that like he brought up for the story, or at least in my own like research about these kinds of stories, one of the things I found out was that like the story is the story was like kind of popular and picked up steam. Shit, hold on, what am I doing here? Wait, hold on. Okay, and then this guy has to move. That story picked up steam and got like it was like an urban myth, urban legend kind of story thing. But it really picked up steam and got really topical with the Black Plague. When the Black Plague, um, around that era, people were fuck. Okay, let me back up. I'm just like busy drawing and messing my words up. So like people in my research were telling this story around near the end of the Black Plague, or at least like years after it, as a way to like spread that kind of scare, where like people would be like, oh, the reason they did that was because the mom they found out was sick with the Black Plague. Ooh, the Black Plague! Oh no, not the Black Plague! And it's these kinds of stories are always just used as a cautionary tale. Don't wash your hands, or you might fucking end up with the Black Plague and disappear. I don't know. It's just weird to me that like interesting. Sorry, it's interesting to me how stories like these can be cautionary tales and just in a certain time era can be really fucking scary and give you chills. Like I imagine hearing that story back during the Black Plague times, you would be fucking out of your mind. Like holy shit, that's so scary, so scary. Oh no. Because like back then, the Black Plague was really a fucking problem. You know. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck I'm even talking about anymore at this point. I'm getting. This is why I need to cut this out short soon. I need to wrap this up. I'm starting to end. I'm starting to reach the end of my rope and start just fucking babbling. I'm not making sense anymore. Sorry. Let's move on. One more, maybe like two more stories, two more stories. Let's hit up with this one. This is one of the funny ones that I always like to think about. Uh, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It's gotta be right here somewhere. Oh wow, is it not here? Oh wow, they took it out. It's not here. They took out Bloody Fingers. Oh man, that's a shame. Do let's do this one. I don't know what this one's about.
Hello, Kate. Tom Connors was on his way to a dance in the next village. It was a long walk through fields and woods, but it was a soft, sweet evening, and he loved dancing, so Tom didn't mind. He'd gone only a short distance when he noticed a young woman following him. Maybe she's going to the dance, he thought, and he stopped and waited for her. As the woman got closer, he saw that it was Kate Faherty. They had danced together many times. He was about to call, "Hello, Kate," when suddenly he remembered that Kate was dead. She had died last year, yet there she was, all dressed up for the dance. Tom wanted to run, but somehow it didn't seem right to run from Kate. He turned and started to walk away as fast as he could, but Kate followed him. He took a shortcut across a field, but still she followed. When he got to the dance hall, she was right behind him. There were a lot of people standing outside, and Tom tried to lose Kate in the crowd. He worked his way to the side of the building, then squeezed up against the wall behind some people, but Kate followed. She came so close she brushed up against him. Then she stopped and waited. He wanted to say, "Hello, Kate," just the way he did when she was alive, but he was so frightened he couldn't speak. Her eyes looked into his eyes, and she vanished. The Black Dog.
Okay, straight up, that one just fucking sucked. That was like nothing there. That one kind of just sucked. Um, let's hit this one.
The Dream. Lucy Morgan was an artist. She had spent a week painting in a small country town and decided that the next day she would move on. She would go to a village called Kingston. But that night, Lucy Morgan had a strange dream. She dreamed that she was walking up a dark, carved staircase and entered a bedroom. It was an ordinary room except for two things. The carpet was made up of large squares that looked like trapdoors, and each of the windows was fastened shut with big nails that stuck up out of the wood. In her dream, Lucy Morgan went to sleep in that bedroom. During the night, a woman with a pale face and black eyes and long black hair came into the room. She leaned over the bed and whispered, "This is an evil place. Flee while you can." When the woman touched her arm to hurry her along, Lucy Morgan awakened from her dream with a shriek. She lay awake the rest of the night, trembling. In the morning, she told her landlady that she had decided not to go to Kingston after all. "I can't tell you why," she said, "but I just can't bring myself to go there." "Then why don't you go to Dorset?" the landlady said. "It's a pretty town, and it isn't too far." So Lucy Morgan went to Dorset. Someone told her
Interruption. Hello, Kendrick. Hi, welcome, welcome. Come on in. You're catching the tail end of this stream, but uh, oh, so we've been watching scary stories, listening to scary stories to tell in the dark while I've been drawing, and oh god, that picture scares me. We've just been chilling today. I hope you've been having a good. What the heck is today? Tuesday. I hope you've been having a good Tuesday. Um, Thank you for swinging by. Let's see. I need to do something here real quick. This one, and then let's remove him. That's fine. That's fine. Let me tell this guy something. Refresh your page, buddy, and hopefully you'll count as one. I don't know if you're still. If you, I don't know if you're here, Josh. But if you are, thank you for joining. Yeah. So it's just chilling. We're just chilling, listening to stories. I think the scariest story we've heard today is Infamous telling us about how the Five Nights at Freddy's movie was like the scariest thing ever because money was paid to watch it. But yeah, no, sit back, relax. I'll probably keep this going for a little bit more. Yeah, enjoy the story.
There she could find a room in a house at the top of the hill. It was a pleasant-looking house, and the landlady there, a plump, motherly woman, was as nice as could be. "Let's look at the room," she said. "I think you'll like it." They walked up a dark, carved staircase, like the one in Lucy's dream. In these old houses, the staircases were all the same, Lucy thought. But when the landlady opened the door to the bedroom, it was the room in her dream, with the same carpet that looked like trapdoors and the same windows fastened with big nails. "This is just a coincidence," Lucy told herself. "How do you like it?" the landlady asked. "I'm not sure," she said. "Well, take your time," the landlady said. "I'll bring up some tea while you think about it." Lucy sat on the bed, staring at the trapdoors and the big nails. Soon there was a knock on the door. "It's the landlady with the tea," she thought. But it wasn't the landlady. It was the woman with the pale face and the black eyes and the long black hair. Lucy Morgan grabbed her things and fled. Sam's new pet. Sam stayed with his grandmother when his parents went to Mexico for their vacation. "We're going to bring you back something nice," his mother told him. "It'll be a surprise." Before they came home, Sam's parents looked for something Sam would like. All they could find was a beautiful sombrero. It cost too much. But that afternoon, while they were eating their lunch in a park, they decided to buy the sombrero after all. Sam's father threw what was left of their sandwiches to some stray dogs, and they walked back to the marketplace. One of the animals followed them. It was a small, gray creature with short hair, short legs, and a long tail. Wherever they went, it went. "Isn't he cute?" Sam's mother said. "He must be one of those Mexican hairless dogs. Sam would love him." "He's probably somebody's pet," Sam's father said. They asked several people if they knew who its owners were, but no one did. They just smiled and shrugged their shoulders. Finally, Sam's mother said, "Maybe he's just a stray. Let's take him home with us. We can give him a good home, and Sam will love him." It is against the law to take a pet across the border, but Sam's parents hid the animal in a box, and no one saw it. When they got home, They showed it to Sam. "He's a pretty small dog," said Sam. "He's a Mexican dog," his father said. "I'm not sure what kind. I think it's called a Mexican hairless. We'll find out. But he's nice, isn't he?" They gave the new pet some dog food. Then they washed it and brushed it and combed its fur. That night it slept on Sam's bed. When Sam awakened the next morning, his pet was still there. "Mother," he called, "the dog has a cold." The animal's eyes were running, and there was something white around its mouth. Later that morning, Sam's mother took it to a veterinarian. "Where'd you get him?" the vet asked. "In Mexico," she said. "We think he's a Mexican hairless. I was going to ask you about that." "He's not a hairless," the vet said. "He's not even a dog. He's a sewer rat. And he has rabies."
What? What a dumb story. That one I feel like doesn't work these days in this day and age. Because I mean, if you find a fucking weird ass dog like that, the first thing people are gonna do is just look it up on fucking Google. Just be like, what the fuck is this? Alexa, what is this? That's a fucking rat. Oh, thank you, Alexa. You're the best. You know? It's definitely not the kind of story that like could work in this day and age, I don't think. But back in the day, you know, urban legends, myths, cautionary tales, that was legit. The lesson there was don't fucking take things from Mexico to the US. We have enough shit over here, man. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know how I'm feeling about this picture. Well, comic, I suppose. I think we're close. I think I could finish this today, but at the same time, I kind of don't want to. I think I'm just gonna finish up doing like the face here, and then sappy down here, and then I'll do the coloring tomorrow. I'm getting hungry. I am fucking starving. Let's see, two more, right? Two more for surezies. Two more for surezies, and then maybe I'll be back tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. I'll see how I feel. I definitely want to watch like more scary movies, and I know I can't like stream that. So, um, what's a good one? What's a good one? Let's try this one.
The church. There was a fella named Larry Berger who wasn't afraid of anybody alive. But anybody who was dead scared the wits out of him. One night, Larry was out driving in the country in his old Jeep when he got caught in a bad thunderstorm. The rain was coming down in sheets. Since his Jeep didn't have a top to it, Larry started looking for a place to take shelter. But at the first place he came to, he didn't even slow down. It was an old deserted cabin, probably as dry as a bone inside. But Larry knew for a fact that it was haunted, and he wasn't going to stay there. A few miles farther, he came to an old abandoned church standing all alone in a field. It hadn't been used in years. All the window glass was gone, but it still had sections of the roof intact. So Larry parked his Jeep and ran inside. It was as dark as could be in there. Larry groped around until he found a pew and sat down. It was nice and dry, just as he thought it would be, and he stretched out his legs and made himself comfortable. Suddenly there was a big flash of lightning, and Larry saw that he wasn't the only one in that church. There were people sitting in almost every pew. They all had their heads bowed as if they were praying, and they all were dressed in white. These must be ghosts sitting in their shrouds, Larry thought. They must have come in from some graveyard to get dry. Larry jumped up and ran down the aisle as fast as he could, right smack into one of those ghosts. And the ghost, he went The bad news. Leon and Todd loved baseball. When they were young, they had played on the town's baseball team. Leon had been the pitcher, and Todd had played second base. Now that they were a lot older, they spent their free time watching baseball games on TV and talking about baseball. "Do you think they play baseball in heaven?" Leon asked Todd one day. "Well, that's a good question," said Todd. "The one who gets there first should let the other one know somehow." As it turned out, Todd got to heaven first, and Leon waited patiently to hear from him. One day, Leon found Todd sitting in the living room waiting for him. Leon was very excited to see him. What is it like up there?" he asked. "And what about baseball?" "When it comes to baseball," said Todd, "I have some good news and I have some bad news. The good news is that we do play baseball in heaven. We have some fine teams. I play second base on my team just like I used to in the old days. That's the good news." "What's the bad news?" asked Leon. "The bad news," said Todd, "is that you are scheduled to pitch tomorrow."
That's funny to me. That's like oh thanks for letting me know, dude. Thanks for the heads up. That's a funny one. That's a good one. I've heard that one before in a few different places, and it's just funny. Man, I hope. I don't mind if the VOD, like I said, disappears because of copyright law or whatever. If I get hit with a copyright strike, I should probably just try to find better material to listen to while I do these streams because I do enjoy doing these streams. Drawing is pretty fun. How do I do this? Like this, I think. But at the same time, it's like I don't know. The things I would listen to while I draw to get like the best, mood for myself are all a bunch of things that are just not streamer friendly, I don't think. Music and things like that. But oh well. It is what it is. I'm pretty much done here, I think. He's got a bit of a pack here. Yeah, like that. Yeah, like that. There you go. And then if you guys have never seen Aliens versus Monsters, it's a decently fun movie, I think. Worth a watch maybe someday. But yeah, I think that's it. Oh, I'm missing one thing. I forgot. I said I would draw Sappy. Uh oh. Can I get rid of that? Blue? Oh no! Whoopsie. Alright. Let's hit another one. Let's see. Let's hit another one. I'm just picking these at random at this point. This one.
The Red Spot. While Ruth slept, a spider crawled across her face. It stopped for several minutes on her left cheek, then went on its way. "What is that red spot on my cheek?" she asked her mother the next morning. "Looks like a spider bite," her mother said. "It'll go away, just don't scratch it." Soon the small red spot grew into a small red boil. "Look at it now," Ruth said. "It's getting bigger. It's sore." "That sometimes happens," her mother said. "It's coming to a head." In a few days the boil was even larger. "Look at it now," Ruth said. "It hurts and it's ugly." "We'll have the doctor look at it," her mother said. "Maybe it's infected." But the doctor could not see Ruth until the next day. That night, Ruth took a hot bath. As she soaked herself, the boil burst. Out poured a swarm of tiny spiders from the eggs their mother had laid in her cheek. No thanks. Thursday nights, Jim worked as a stock boy in one of the malls out on the highway. By 8:30, he was usually finished, and he drove home. But that night, Jim was one of the last to leave. By the time he got out to the huge parking lot, it was almost empty. The only sounds were cars in the distance and his footsteps on the pavement. Suddenly, a man stepped out of the shadows. "Hey, mister," he called in a low voice. He held out his right hand. Balanced on the palm was the long, thin blade of a knife. Jim stopped. "Nice, sharp knife," the man said softly. "Don't panic," Jim thought. The man stepped toward him. "Don't run," Jim told himself. "Nice, sharp knife," the man repeated. Give him what he wants, Jim thought. The man came closer. He held the knife up. "Cuts nice and easy," he said slowly. Jim waited. The man peered into his face. "Hey, man, only $3, 2 for 5. Nice present for your mama." "No thanks," Jim said. "She's got one," and he ran for his car. The Trouble. The events in this story took place in 1958 in a small white house in a suburb of New York City. The names of the people involved have been changed. Monday, February 3rd. Tom Lombardo and his sister Nancy had just come home from school. Tom was going on 13, Nancy was 14. They were talking to their mother in the living room when they heard a loud pop in the kitchen. It sounded like a cork had been pulled from a bottle of champagne, but it was nothing like that. The cap on a bottle of starch had somehow come unscrewed, and the bottle had tipped over and spilled. Then, bottles all over the house began popping. Bottles of nail polish remover, shampoo, bleach, rubbing alcohol, even a bottle of holy water. Each had a screw cap that took 2 or 3 full turns to open, but each had opened by itself, without any human help, then had fallen over and spilled. "What is going on here?" Mrs. Lombardo asked. Nobody knew. But the popping soon stopped and everything went back to normal. It was just one of those crazy things, they decided, and put it out of their minds. Thursday, February 6th. Just after Tom and Nancy got home from school, 6 more bottles popped their caps. The next day, at about the same time, another 6 did. Sunday, February 9th. At 11 o'clock that morning, Tom was in the bathroom brushing his teeth. His father was standing in the doorway talking to him. All of a sudden, a bottle of medicine began moving across the vanity by itself and fell into the sink. At the same time, a bottle of shampoo moved to the edge of the vanity and crashed to the floor. They watched, spellbound. "I'd better call the police," Mr. Lombardo said. That afternoon, a patrolman interviewed the family as bottles popped in the bathroom. The police assigned a detective named Joseph Briggs to the case. Detective Briggs was a practical man. When something moved, he believed that a human or an animal had moved it, or that it moved because of a vibration or the wind or some other natural cause. He did not believe in ghosts. When the Lombardos said they had nothing to do with what was going on, he thought that at least one of them was lying. He wanted to examine the house. Then he wanted to talk to some experts and find out what they thought. Tuesday, February 11th. The bottle of holy water that had opened a week before opened a second time and spilled. 2 days later, it spilled again. Saturday, February 15th. Tom, Nancy, and a relative were watching TV in the living room when a small porcelain statue rose up from a table. It flew 3 feet through the air, then fell to the rug. Monday, February 17th. A priest blessed the Lombardos' house to protect it against whatever was causing the trouble. Thursday, February 20th. While Tom was doing his homework at one end of the dining room table, a sugar bowl at the other end flew into the hall and crashed. Detective Briggs saw it happen. Later, a bottle of ink on the table flew into a wall and broke, spattering in all directions. Then another porcelain statue took off. It traveled 12 feet and smashed into a desk. Friday, February 21st. To get some peace, the Lombardos went to a relative's house for the weekend. While they were gone, everything at home was normal. Sunday, February 23rd. When the Lombardos returned, another sugar bowl took off. It flew into a wall and smashed to smithereens. Later, a heavy bureau in Tom's room toppled over, but no one was in the room when it happened. Monday, February 24th. By now, Detective Briggs had talked to an engineer, a chemist, a physicist, and others. Some thought that vibrations in the house were causing the trouble. These could come from underground water, they said, or from high-frequency radio waves, or from sonic booms caused by airplanes. Others said that the electrical system was the cause, or downdrafts coming through the chimney. The popping of bottles was blamed on chemicals the bottles contained. Tests showed that there were no vibrations in the house, there was nothing wrong with the electrical system, and there were no chemicals in the bottles that would make them pop. Then what was causing the trouble? None of the experts knew. But every day, the Lombardos received dozens of letters and telephone calls from people who thought they did know. Many believed that the house was haunted. They thought that a poltergeist was on the loose, the noisy ghost that is blamed when things move around on their own. No one has proved that poltergeists exist, but people everywhere have told stories about them for hundreds of years, and what they have told was not too different from what was happening to the Lombardos. Detective Briggs did not, of course, believe in poltergeists. He had begun to believe that Tom Lombardo might be to blame. Whenever something happened, Tom was usually in the room or nearby. When he accused Tom of causing the trouble, the boy denied it. "I don't know what's going on," he said. "All I know is that it scares me." People said that Detective Briggs was a tough cop who would turn in his mother if she did something wrong. But he believed Tom. Only now he didn't know what to think. Tuesday, February 25th. A newspaper reporter came to the house to interview the family. Afterward, he sat in the living room by himself, hoping that something would happen that he could describe in his story. Tom's room was just across the hall from where the reporter sat. The boy had gone to bed, but he had left his door open. Suddenly, a globe of the world flew out of the darkened room and smashed into a wall. The reporter dashed into the bedroom and turned on the light. Tom was sitting in bed, blinking as if he had just been awakened from a sound sleep. "What was that?" he asked. Wednesday, February 26th. In the morning, a small plastic statue of the Virgin Mary rose up from a dresser in Mr. and Mrs. Lombardo's bedroom and flew into a mirror. That night, while Tom was doing his homework, a 10-pound record player took off from the table, flew 15 feet, then crashed to the floor. Friday, February 28th. 2 scientists arrived from Duke University in North Carolina. They were parapsychologists who studied experiences like those the Lombardos were having. They spent several days talking to the family and examining the house, trying to understand what was going on and what was causing it. One night, a bottle of bleach popped its top, but that was all that happened during their visit. They did not tell the Lombardos about a theory they had that a poltergeist actually might be involved in such cases. According to this idea, poltergeists were not ghosts. They were normal teenagers. They had become so troubled by a problem that their emotions built up into a kind of vibration. Since it was taking place in their unconscious minds, they didn't even know it was happening. But the vibration somehow left their bodies and moved whatever it struck. It happened again and again until the problem had been solved. Scientists had given this strange power a name. They called it psychokinesis, the ability to move objects with mental power or mind over matter. No one knew if this really could happen or how to prove it. Yet most reports of poltergeists did involve families with teenage children, and there were 2 teenagers in the Lombardo family. Monday, March 3rd. The parapsychologists said that they would prepare a report on what they had learned. The day after they left, the trouble returned with a vengeance. Tuesday, March 4th. In the afternoon, a bowl of flowers flew off the dining room table and smashed into a cupboard. Then a bottle of bleach jumped out of a cardboard box and popped its top. Then a bookcase filled with encyclopedias fell over and wedged itself between a radiator and a wall. Then a flashlight bulb on a table rose up and hit a wall 12 feet away. Finally, 4 knocks were heard coming from the kitchen when nobody was in that room. Wednesday, March 5th. While Mrs. Lombardo was making breakfast, she heard a loud crash in the living room. The coffee table had turned over by itself. But that was the end of it. After a month of chaos, everything returned to normal. In August, the 2 parapsychologists gave their report. They decided that the Lombardos had not made up the story, nor had they imagined it. Their trouble had been real, but what had caused it? They said that no pranks or tricks were involved, nor was any magic. As the police had done, they also ruled out vibrations from underground water and other physical causes. The only explanation they could not rule out was the possibility that a teenage poltergeist had been at work, moving objects with mental power. They didn't have enough evidence to prove it, but it was the only answer they had. If it was a poltergeist, they thought it was Tom. If they were right, if a normal boy like Tom had become a poltergeist, this also might happen to other teenagers. It might even happen to you. Stranger.
Okay. What? Okay. You know what? Whatever. No, it's just weird. Whatever. Okay. Enough. Enough. I think I've run out of my gamut of like stories to listen to. Even as much as I appreciate scary stories and stuff like that, there's a limit. Let's put on this. We're almost done. We're almost done. Yeah, like that. I want it like that. I do think Sappy would do something silly like this. There you go. And then her little hoodie pouch. And she's got some little stripes there. And then that's it. Yeah. That's Sappy Sakana. Okay. Like I said, that's all I wanted to do for today. I just wanted to get the majority of this done so that tomorrow I can just, once I'm finished doing what I gotta do in order to make a living, I can just come here, come home, and ink this in. But in case you were wondering, in case you're not here to see this tomorrow, the joke is Sappy, for her stream, she's got a crush on Bob from Monsters vs. Aliens. That's me saying he's not real. That's her saying he's real to me in an AU, alternate universe. She's real to me. Anyway, that's the gist of this joke. I'm gonna finish this up maybe tomorrow. If not tomorrow, maybe the next day. Soon. I probably won't show the inking part, the coloring part, on stream. Man, I'm starving. Jesus Christ. But this is my own personal creative process. I put on something to listen to. I hardly ever listen to music, to be honest. Like when I'm drawing, I really don't listen to music. I listen to podcasts or fucking fuck, what am I thinking of? Stand-up comedy specials on Netflix. And but overall, this was fun. It was nice. It was nice hanging out and drawing. Hope you all enjoyed watching me doodling. Hope you guys had a nice time listening to some spooky stories. Some of those were like some of my favorite ones, or ones that like I just know very well. Yeah, hopefully you guys liked some of them enough that maybe someday you'll tell your friends some spooky stories. I kind of don't like the placement of this leg. Let me make this edit before I go. I will be streaming, if not tomorrow, Friday. I don't know what exactly I'll be streaming, but I will try to stream something. I still have not decided what fucking thing I want to stream. Maybe I'll start Persona 4, maybe. I don't know. It's a big if. Does that make more sense like this? Maybe like this. No. Maybe like that. Maybe like that, right? Yeah, maybe like this, and then we add a little bit of this. But yeah, no, Persona 4 is definitely something I want to hit eventually. Silent Hill 3 eventually. God, this is like bothering me now. Now I need to fix this. I think it's just like the way the leg is. Maybe like this. Maybe like that. Yeah, maybe like that. God damn it, I want it to be done. Why am I still here? You know what? Let's just redo that whole thing. This whole drawing right here. We're not done. We're not done, damn it. We're not done until I'm satisfied. Yeah, just get rid of all of this shit. I don't need any of that. Let's try fuck. Yeah, like that. I think that's the mood. I think that's the way. So gotta get rid of all of it. And we want to make it like a hard right. Do people really listen to this kind of music? I don't. Not that I'm like anything wrong with it. It's just that like this is not my kind of music. People enjoy lo-fi shit. Okay, so let's redraw this part like this. Maybe like that. Do you think that looks good? I don't know. This is why artists try not to draw feet. Unless artists are like really good at it and have put a lot of effort into learning how to do it right, this is the reason why people don't draw feet. I've only barely have any confidence in drawing hands, but feet, toes, things like this, well, not only do I dislike them, I'm just not very good at them. But that kind of almost looks right. That kind of almost looks right. Just a little fix like that. Yeah. What am I listening to? Oops. Okay, hold on. And now I can move it. It has to be longer because it's the leg closest to us. Like that. I think that fixes it. Anyway, so thank you all very much for hanging out with me today. Thank you very much for being here, lurking, talking, chatting. I'm sorry if this one wasn't too entertaining. I feel like I'm very hit or miss with how entertaining I can be. But, you know, hopefully it's been a chill time for everybody. Hope everyone has a good rest of their week, good rest of their Tuesday night. I don't see you, a good rest of your week, good rest of your November, good rest of your 2023. We're almost done. Can you believe it? That's wild to me. I can't believe we're almost done with it, like, with another fucking year. But hope you all have a good one. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for joining me. Sorry I'm boring. I appreciate it though. Thanks for sticking with me through all of that. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you so much. If you ever get the chance, please go check out Sappy Sakana. Very funny VTuber, blobfish VTuber. You'll know it's her. She'll be saying some wild ass shit. Yeah, alright, well, that's it. Nothing else. Good night. Thank you very much. Have a good rest of your night. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for, etc. Thank you for being here, your time, your attention. I appreciate it. It means a lot. It really does. Thank you for hanging out. Have a good night. Have a good night. Have a good night. Bye-bye. 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 Can you still hear the music? That's wild.